Previously on World History and Geography.
Our early hominid ancestors arose millions of years ago in Africa, and then, during the Paleolithic Age, or Old Stone Age, our human ancestors eventually began to migrate out of Africa to almost every corner of the globe. But what about those who stayed behind?
And now,
I think it's Africa. Africa?
Many people's view of Africa comes from TV shows like Kimba, a cartoon I used to watch as a kid about the coming-of-age story of a lion prince. His father is murdered, and he battles an evil lion named Claw along with his hyenas. He becomes king with the help of his father and the moon, and his girlfriend Cub, and a wise but eccentric baboon, or is he a mandrill, and a pair of comically mismatched buddies. It's quite the adventure. My view of Africa has also been influenced by the movies, like The Lion King, a cartoon about a lion named Simba. It's a coming-of-age story of a lion prince whose father is murdered, that he battles his uncle named Scar, along with his evil hyenas. Simba becomes king with the help of his father in the clouds, and his girlfriend Cub, and a wise but eccentric baboon, or is it a mandrill? And a pair of comically mismatched buddies. It's quite the adventure.
This looks familiar.
Anyway, what is Africa really like? We don't know as much about ancient Africa as we do other areas, since most of the ancient civilizations did not write down their history.
History! I love history!
But passed it down orally. Most structures in Africa were made out of wood or mud brick, so they haven't lasted. More on that in a moment. Let's take a quick look at the geography of Africa. First off, Africa is not a country. It is the second largest continent in the world. It stretches 4,600 miles from east to west and 5,000 miles from north to south. As you can see, it's big. Whoa. Some people say they can see a face in Africa. No, not that face. That face. People often point out the Horn of Africa. There it is. Much of the land is a high plateau, with lower land near the coasts. The rivers that flow along this high land often form waterfalls or rapids. As a result, boats have trouble using these rivers to travel either to or from the coast. Also, the coast has few harbors for so large a landmass. So in many ways, much of Africa was isolated from outsiders. Africa has many different environments. There are hot, dry deserts, steamy, wet rainforests, and high, cool mountains. Hey, did you know it snows near the equator? At the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, which is just south of the equator. Now you know. About a third of Africa's land is desert, with the massive Sahara in the north and the Namib and the Kalahari to the south. Water is scarce and few people live there, and these deserts make it difficult for people who want to move from one area of the continent to another. Dense rainforests cover much of the central part of Africa, but most Africans live on the savannas, grasslands that cover almost half of the continent. The land at the southern edge of the Sahara Desert is the Sahel. Each year, the Sahara Desert takes over a little more of the Sahel. That's called desertification. These diverse environments of Africa created a variety in the way Africans lived. Like elsewhere in the world, the first humans in Africa got food by hunting animals and gathering plants. Even today, some African peoples still use this method to get food. In ancient Africa, women and children gathered plant foods, while men and older boys hunted animals. A hunter sometimes used a poison-tipped arrow as a weapon. About 10,000 BCE, some people in Africa began to farm. Ancient Africans tended to live with their clan, or groups of extended family who came from a common ancestor. An older male led the clan of about 50 people, but he did not give orders or act like a chief. Family organization is important in African society. In many African societies, families form groups called lineages. Members of a lineage believe they are all descended from a common ancestor. Lineage groups sometimes take the place of rulers. These societies that do not have central governments are called stateless societies. Power in these societies is spread among more than one lineage. This prevents any one family from having too much control and power. The older members from different villages would come together to solve problems. In patrilineal societies, lineages are traced through their fathers. In matrilineal societies, lineages are traced through their mothers. Over time, these ancient societies learned to tame animals and raise them for food. Like the hunters and gatherers, these herders were nomadic people. As they moved, they looked for grass and for water for their animals. When food or water was used up in one area, they moved to another. This movement is called migration. There are many reasons why people make such a move, but they can be grouped into three main causes. They are environmental change, economic pressure, political and religious persecution. Reasons people move into or out of an area are called push-pull factors. Common language is one way historians can track the movement of early Africans, since most did not have a system of writing recording these movements. Many languages spoken in Africa today developed from the same parent language called Proto-Bantu. The people who spoke Bantu first lived in a part of modern Nigeria. In the first few centuries CE, they began to move south and east. Over time, they spread throughout Africa south of the Sahara Desert, reaching the southern tip around 500 years ago. The West African Nok culture existed from about 500 BCE to 200 CE and were the first people in Africa who knew how to make iron. The Nok people were also known for their cool, elongated pottery figures. The Nok city of Djenné is the oldest known African city south of the Sahara. It was located on the banks of the Niger River in the west. It dates from about 250 BC. About 50,000 people lived there at its height. Meanwhile, the peoples in East Africa had a great deal of contact with people from other areas. We already know about the ancient Egyptian civilization, and the Kushite kingdom of Nubia to the south had close relations with Egypt and even ruled it for a time. It was then replaced by the kingdom of Aksum in what is now modern Ethiopia. The dynasty that ruled Aksum and later Ethiopia included the 20th century ruler Haile Selassie. Aksum may have begun as early as 1000 BC when Arabian traders mixed with the people of Kush. Aksum was an international trading center, and its trade routes helped link Rome to India. There were people from Aksum's widespread trading partners, including Egypt, Arabia, Greece, Rome, Persia, India, and even Byzantium, trading and living in Aksum. Aksum was unusual because they made structures out of stone, not mud baked into bricks by the hot sun. Their kings built tall pillars of stone that reached as high as 60 feet. They were among the tallest structures in the ancient world. Aksum made other advances as well. Aside from Egypt and the city of Meroe, it was the only culture of ancient Africa to have a written language. The language of Aksum had been brought by Arab traders many hundreds of years before. Aksum was also the first state south of the Sahara to mint its own coins. The people of Aksum also developed a new way of farming. They cut terraces, step-like ridges, into the steep mountainsides in their country. The terraces helped the land hold water instead of letting it run down the mountain in heavy rain. This was called terrace farming. Christianity eventually spread into the area, as Aksum remained an important power in East Africa for 800 years. It was first challenged in the 600s after the new religion of Islam came to Arabia and Africa. Aksum remained an island of Christianity in a sea of Islam. In 710, however, Muslim conquerors began Aksum's decline as a world power. Islam was an important influence on African history. By 670 CE, Muslims ruled Egypt. Then they entered the Maghrib. No, not the McRib. The Maghrib.
Maghrib, Arabic Maghrib.
The part of North Africa made up of the Mediterranean coast of Libya, Morocco, Tunisia, and Algeria. In their new states, the Muslims set up theocracies. The ruler served as both political and religious leader.
What'd you say this was again?
McDonald's calls it the McRib sandwich.
I'm getting hungry. Let's take a break.